Before we get into your 10 stocks, I thought we'd take a look at a stock of the day that I always choose. I thought Crown Resorts we might have a look at today. They reported this morning $261 million full year statutory loss, no dividend for long-suffering shareholders. The casino giant awaits the word from ongoing royal commissions into its behaviour. COVID-19 forced it to shutter its operations, restrict operations in Melbourne and Perth for much of the year. The loss compares unfavourably to last year's near $80 million profit before COVID hit. Revenue at the business has also tanked down to $1.5 billion. No longer in discussions with Oaktree. Mathan, you always talk about trying to find the ugliest stocks on the market who might be so ugly they look attractive. That's why I chose this one, to see if you were finding it attractive at all.
This is so ugly, it makes me look like Tom Cruise. I mean, it's ugly. You can think of every category that it can go wrong in, and they went, tick, we'll go below that, we'll get worse. And they have. So, I mean, who cares about the result? Everyone knew these guys are going to be struggling. The macro is just weak. Management has had more problems than it can poke a stick at. It's about the asset. It's about what it can be. And it's about, will someone else come and say, this is worth more than what it's being priced, and take it out. I think the market knows that. I think you're right. I think it's so ugly, you got to look at it. If you're picking 10, 12 stocks with outlook statement, looking where they're headed, this is probably not in their top 10, 15 stocks. But it's one of those stocks where I think it's so ugly and the asset is good enough and it employs so many people that it's going to be there. Maybe not as Crown, maybe something else, but at the end of the day, it's going to be around. And if anybody's going to buy them out, there's a premium coming. So I think it's ugly, but it's an ugly buy.
Okay. Gaurav?
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that we actually own Crown Resorts in our portfolios, and it's been it's been one heck of a ride. We actually bought this during the March drawdown last year, and thought it was excellent decision making. And then all of this other stuff came out, and it really tested resolve about the business. The result was terrible, David. There's no real way about it. But I was stunned they're making as much revenue as they are. I mean, everything is locked down and they're still generating $1.5 billion in revenue. It's worth breaking that down a little bit. Now, they're lucky that they have an excellent casino over in Perth, and that's been largely unaffected. And the experience from that casino shows that post-lockdowns, casino revenue, casino profit jumps remarkably. So if we can get through this period, there should be a strong rebound for these assets coming up, if the assets have a license attached to them, and that's really the issue. Generally, I like buying businesses at sort of maximum, not maximum pessimism, but maximum uncertainty. Uncertainty and variability, that's what creates the opportunity. And here you have an extremely variable outcome. If the regulator comes out and everything's fine and it hands Crown its license back and Sydney eventually gets its license back, then this is probably a $16 stock. And on the other hand, if the licenses are lost, you've still got an interesting amount of property, which is probably worth $6, $5 to $6 or so. So the downside's probably not a disaster. So look, on balance, I would agree. I think this is a buy too. But not a thumping buy. I think one could do better in the market than buying Crown today. But I think if you hold it over time, you probably do well. Look, the interesting thing was that they actually sold. So in terms of cash flow, the business actually lost $14-15 million in cash flow, but they sold $650 million of apartments in Sydney in the Barangaroo complex. And it just shows that what we think is a casino business is actually quite an asset-heavy property business at the same time. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to go, agree with Mathan, I'll go buy as well.
Okay. And those apartments sold out in a flash, didn't they? And they're pretty exy on a per square metre basis.
Indeed. And
Yeah, I
when
think
that, when that
the property side of things is seriously undervalued.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we all looked at that structure and we thought that they were probably being a bit optimistic about the expected sales from property, and they've just blown all those expectations out of the water. It's been remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. At a time when inner city apartments, particularly in Sydney, are under a bit of pressure as well. They got top dollar at that top end.